Hello, everyone. I'm Lawanda Smith-Dudley, therapist and counselor. For many years, I have helped people reach their full potential in life. And in this moment, in this hour, I'm going to share with you how I reach my full potential in life. The journey has not been easy. It's been challenging, as many of you are on your journey, and we run into those roadblocks, those pit stops, those detours that so often in life that challenge us and cause us to, deal with our issues and the difficulties. This journey that I've been on and still on has definitely caused many challenges in my life. And the story that some people often have assumed, or they look at it and then they just create their own perception. Today I'm going to share it from my own perspective, which is my story. So if you understand what it is and I'm going to take you back. I'm just going to go back because let's fast forward a little bit, then I'll go back. I was, of course, married for 16 years. I was married for 16 years. I have a 19-year-old son from that marriage. And during that process of me, being married, I'm going to go back until how I got to that point of the actual relationship. Many times in life, when we, as a young girl, you have this, as us women, we have this idea, no idea, of this picture of our life and how this life is supposed to be. You get the husband, you get the house, you fall in love first, of course, and you live so happily ever after. Unfortunately, sometimes that does not always work. For me, growing up in a household, I was the oldest of 5. My parents were, of course, they met in school. So kind of like I model my life, kind of simple, my life. I wanted to kind of like model my life after theirs, where they met at college and they got married and they have this, friendship that developed with their school friends, and we knew their kids, and so, but my life didn't pan out that way. I had a lot of emotional issues, and I grew up in a 2-parent household, and so growing up in a 2-parent household was not, it wasn't anything towards my parents. It's just that I grew up in a household with a lot of love, of course. However, it was, for me, I just dealing with the emotional issues, and I think a lot of that stemmed from the fact that I think I was 8, maybe 7 or 8 years old, when I was actually at a daycare center, and my mom was working. Well, wasn't working. She was in school. My father was working, and I was actually sexually violated. So the molestation, I held that which up until the age of 13 years old. I didn't tell my parents till I was 13. And in that time, though, I created a lot of shame, a lot of guilt was a result of that. I blamed myself, and so I never really got the help that I needed to, help me heal from that. So that created that, of course, when things happen in our lives and we don't get the help we need, they grow. They grow. It's just like a root. It grows. So the self-esteem issues grew from a result of that. The not feeling worthy grew from the result of that. The shame, the guilt, and all of that was a combination that created the overwhelming emotional issues that I struggled with throughout life. I didn't feel worthy. I didn't feel I had low self-esteem. So I covered it up. With the external things that we often do. We do it by we fix our hair, we smile, we put makeup on, we wear the nice clothes, and then some of us, as I did, I'm talking about me when I say us, I'm talking about me, we we create this wall and this barrier where we don't let people in. And then we create a sense of this overconfidence, but inside you're not, but you appear to be, because you're hiding those insecurities within. And I did that for so many years. And in the process of trying to understand who I was, I used examples of, different people in my family, sometimes celebrities, sometimes, and just, people, professors, teachers, or whatever. I would look at their life and then, say, take on it. That's how I'm supposed to be. And that's how I'm supposed to be. And that's how I'm supposed to talk. And that's how I'm supposed to walk, and so forth. And so I never really understood really who I was. When you don't understand who you are, when I didn't understand who I was, it caused me to really dig deep and go into isolation and withdrawal at times, So for me, it was a I knew something was better. I knew something was different. I knew it was something that I had to do to be a better person. I just didn't know what it was. I didn't have anybody to, to express that and talk to, because I remember, being, and I'm going to fast forward a little bit, so I don't want to, be all over the place, but it's a lot, because I'm almost 50 years old, so there's a lot of things that has happened throughout the years. But I remember being in Green Chapel Church, in the home church in my mom's town, where she grew up at, and I remember knowing that I was called to do something great, and I didn't understand why I was being attacked at this. I started at this early age. I didn't understand that until now. So a lot of times we think it's us, why these bad things happening to us. It's not the bad things that's happening to us that we should question. It should be, why are you going through this? And so I understand now why I went through all the things I went through. It's because it only helps me help people who are going through it now, because I didn't have anybody to talk to about it. And so now many of my clients and many people that I help, they do have somebody to talk to about it. And let me tell you what they have to talk to about. The nights of you looking in the mirror at yourself and you're wondering, who am I really? What am I created? What am I created for? What is my purpose? Why am I here? And then the force of trying to fit in with other people, that not necessarily people. We can always talk about different jobs, different situations and so forth, not really understanding who or why you're trying to fit into something and force yourself into something, and it's not for you. Why did that happen to me? Because I never was supposed to be trying to force anything. A lot of times we try to fill those voids, that emptiness that we feel, and the emptiness that we have, those thoughts of loneliness, those thoughts that we need to be with somebody else to keep us in a place of happiness. What that looks like is you're not full within. You're not happy with yourself eternally. You're not satisfied with your life. So we create these tangible things to try to fill those voids. And what they end up doing is causing us a whole lot of more heartache. And so what I did was I went off to school after I graduated from high school. Now, you know how you write in your memory book, this and that, whatever. I did all those things. I went off to school. And when I got to school, I had this idea in my head that I was going to meet my husband and live happily ever after. But with me not knowing who I was, I created a void. The void was still there. And so how I filled it up was, I filled it up by drinking. I filled it up with those, with dating guys that was definitely not worthy. Well, maybe a couple of them. But they were not for me. They were me with that ideal that I had of who I should be with and who looks good with me and what they have. And I felt like if I could just have them or create that sense of that type of what I thought they had into my life, then I would be fulfilled and I would be complete. And so it only made it worse. It only made me worse because that's when the rejection started. And when you're dealing with me, I keep saying, my self-esteem was low. I already was having issues with feeling worthy, being worthy, and I just I wasn't happy with who I was. And then I'm trying to get the approval of other people. And when I got rejected, it created more emotional issues. It created more hurt. It created more of me going to a deeper, lower self-esteem. It created more questions of who I was and my worth, and it allowed me to go into a place or created a space for me where I didn't really. It was like a sunken place. Okay, it was a sunken place. So when you date people, and I'm going to say, when I dated somebody who I thought was, and you know how sometimes we say people out of our league or whatever. So I finally started dating someone who I felt like I was worthy of. But many times, people around you, they don't see you for who you see or who you think you see you for, because you give them this, sense of, I did. I gave them this sense of always trying to people please them. So when I was people pleasing, I trained them to treat me as, I'm always going to compromise. It's always about them, So they didn't really get to know me for who I was because didn't know who I was myself. And how can they get to know who I was when I could give them who I really was? Because all I was doing was just basically trying to make them happy and please them so that I could be likable. And so when I finally started dating someone who I thought, well, yeah, this is somebody who I can be accepted and so forth. And people, I'm going to go ahead and just say it. Sometimes people think they say they was out of my league. So out of my league now, I understand what that means. It means that you're dating somebody who you're not worthy of, or you're not valuable of, And so in that process and in that time period, I was okay. I was comfortable with who I was, and I was, pretty much happy at that point. I thought I was anyway. But then when that person rejected me, it caused me to go into this spiral, into this deep, dark place of, here it goes again. And I felt like I wasn't worthy enough. And a lot of times, I know now that when you're with someone and you think that the person that you're supposed to be with, it's not a negative. It's just timing matters. Different situations matter. You're young, you make different decisions then. You just don't understand. I know that now, but then I didn't. And so it created, like I said, a spiral for me where I just went into a deep, darker place. And then I said the next person, because when you open up your heart and you really care about somebody and you show them that you really do love them and what you think is love and it's not reciprocated back, and once the rejection comes, you hurt. It damages you. And it caused me to close up. And I was like, I'm never going to love like that again. I'm not going to be open. I'm not going to be vulnerable like that. And so what I did was I started to create a sense of control. Well, I can control my outcome. I'm not going to allow nobody to hurt me like that again. I'm not going to open up like that again. So I created a barrier and I put it up in place. And everybody that I dated after that, I'm gonna say it was people that if I date them and they break my heart or they don't live up to my expectation, I'm gonna be good, because I kind of like dated down, if that makes sense. And so that was me trying to control. I was trying to control my feelings, trying to control, not being hurt, trying to control the outcome, I guess so to say. And so fast forward, I started spending a lot of time with me. I did. I started spending a lot of time with me, just kind of learning about me. Just kind of, but I did it I did it in a challenging, not say, well, it became challenging later, but I did it in a space of I was never tested. And what that means is I removed myself from people a lot. And I got these barriers up, so I didn't let people in. And so it created me in a space of protection. And I remained in that space for a long time. I didn't let people close. I only let people so far. I wasn't myself. I wasn't I would just show up and you get limited, And so, what that caused is first of all, it's not a good place because you don't fully get to enjoy life at your full potential because you're not healed. You're not healed. And so when I keep saying, I got to take it back and say, for me, I wasn't healed. I wasn't whole. And so I was still looking for that void to be filled, that wound. It's just like a wound, you get a cut and you heal it up a little bit, it heals up and then it's still there. And sometimes it's still tender sometimes, but you gotta really keep healing. Put ointment on it and, taking care of it. But if you don't, it kind of still sore a little bit. And if you bump it, the wound will come back because you didn't really properly take care of it to make sure that it was healed properly. And so that's kind of like how my life was. I'll heal it. I'm in the Word. I'm going to Bible study. I'm practicing but I still wasn't fully healed. And when I wasn't fully healed, there's a lot of there were some bumps, you know what I'm saying? And there was some things that happened that caused me to open the wound back up again. Because sometimes, I thought I overcame that, It's over with. I'm good. I've been tested and so forth. I thought I was, but I really wasn't. Because when you're completely healed, of course the wound is still there, but nobody can, determine or tell you or validate you. It's internal, and you're the one who determines your value and your worth and so forth, and your validation, because God created us, and when He created us just enough. So if you're still I was still trying to feel validated by people, approve people, and felt like also if I've reached a certain point, and when I say certain point, I'm talking about professionally, obtaining certain type of status titles, then I made it, and I would be validated. But no, the void's still there, even if those things are attained. So that's why I had to completely heal what that looks like. We'll talk about that a little bit later. However, right now, fast forward until I move into a marriage. Now, this is kind of very difficult for me to talk about because a lot of that I really don't want to talk about, be honest, but I have to because it's not about me. I got married. I was 30 years old. I got married at 30. Prior to that, I was just, focused. And I got pregnant. And I got pregnant probably a little sooner than I should, because we were dating and we didn't date long. And so I got pregnant. And when I got pregnant, here I go. I'm 30 years old. I'm trying to fix this. And so, remind you, I really wasn't healed completely. I'm still wounded. But I got to fix it. So, we got married. I'm pregnant. We're going to move in together. I wasn't comfortable with that. Wasn't comfortable at all. But I allowed it. We moved in together in the process of moving in together, we living together, I'm saying, okay, how long we gonna stay here? I ain't gonna keep staying here, doing this, and we ain't married. I'm not gonna keep trying to fix it, right? That's what I did. We got married, and how we got married was, we woke up one morning, went down to the courthouse. He was like, today, so it wasn't anything sentimental. It was just, and so we got married. After we got married, we were told by family members, you need to celebrate it. You need to, they encouraged us to do that. So we planned for a reception in August of that year, and we got married in April. We bought a house. We moved into the house. And on the outside of everything, it looked really good. But for some reason on the inside, I was still questionable about it. But I'm a fixer. So, and I'm thinking, oh, we'll be okay. We got this child coming. Child is here, rather. My son had been born by then.
So when did you know that the marriage wasn't for you?
Probably, I can be honest, but I'm gonna be very honest. I was married for 16 years. 6 years before filing, I knew I couldn't continue. However, I did have that conversation with them, and the conversation went like this: we need to talk. I can't continue the way things are going. I can't continue the way things are going. I even asked a question one time. I said, do you think your mom and your dad are happy? Because their kind of relationship was kind of detached. And me coming from my parents, not to say my parents' marriage was perfect, not by far, but their one thing they did have was connection, compassion. It was, they were love. They showed affection. And so I saw that coming up. And to be in a marriage that was very limited with that, that's just not something that I didn't want. You do you, I do me. Everything was separate. Finances were separate. We did some things together. Of course, he provided, took care. I'm not gonna say he didn't do those things. He paid bills, took care of the household, and so forth. But there was a huge discord somewhere, and I remember having that conversation because it's like this. This is how simple I'm not gonna say I'm simple, but the small things matter to me. Like after church, let's ride around the city. Let's just explore a little bit. Let's just take our son, and let's go look at houses. Go to the park. And it was always, that's gas money. We ain't got gas money for that. That's too much. So it was always an excuse as to doing quality things together, and I'm a quality type person. And so I knew 6 years prior to me, ending the marriage, and then I felt like I wasn't evolving. And what that looks like for me was, it was always like a competition. And then, like when your family is very negative, overall, they're not supportive. It's always something. And so I felt like I wasn't evolving. I felt like I was at a standstill, and I felt like there was no. And I'm not saying that I look for that, because sometimes we'll blame the other person, or we expect the other person to fill that void and to support us and so forth. Of course, I don't think I was asking for anything that was astronomical, that was out of the ordinary. But there was no growth for me. It was always a stagnation. I wasn't. It was, and I knew. I said, I can't keep going through this. And so for me, I had that conversation. But I learned, though, after having that conversation, no matter what people say, and marriage is different because for their relationships and any normal relationship. So I approached it in a marriage, but you have to have two willing parties, and if that other individual is not willing, then we got an issue, and there was an issue, and I just knew that I couldn't continue to be part of that issue. I just could not when I had a child, and I'm showing him, he's looking at an example of what a marriage should be, and it was my responsibility to teach him and to stay in this, and then he reproduce, or the threat of him having to reproduce and think that this is normal. I just was not willing to sacrifice that, not at all. So that's when I decided something has to change, you know.
Take us to the divorce process.
Oh.
Because I know that can be, I know that was challenging in itself. So can you walk us through how that looked, and how did you approach it and get through it?
I'm a researcher. In my next life, I'll probably be an investigator. But so I, of course, I investigated. And when I say investigating, or research rather, because I didn't have any money. At that time, my ex was the primary financial person. I was, creating my practice, and so I didn't have any money, and I wanted to. I didn't have money to pay for an attorney and so forth. I ended up having to do that. But so I wanted to just we can come to this agreement. And so I went and talked to him about an agreement, and basically I was told that you leave. I'm not finna give you anything. You're not doing anything. You're not owed anything. So that's when I had to, of course, seek counsel. Attorneys are very expensive. The process is for me, it was like I had lost my dad in just a couple years prior to that. And so it was me. I had to I felt like it was a death. It was actually a death, because especially when you've been with somebody, you get accustomed to, that person ways. You get comfortable, not comfortable, but you know what I'm saying. You get attached to the person, whether it's dysfunctional or functionable. But, so for me, it felt like a death. It was draining, and it was even extremely hard for me because I had a child who witnessed a lot of the back and forth, and then witnessed a lot of the attacks, personal attacks on my character, personal attacks on, just trying to destroy me. That's exactly what I felt. I felt like this person wanted the worst for me. And they were doing everything they could to try to. They didn't make it easy for me. I was actually told that tried to prove that I was a unfit mom. Tried to prove, of course, I was lied on, said that I had a boyfriend, and that my boyfriend was the cause of the marriage, the ending of the marriage. I was, I don't want to use that word, but I'll just say that I was really demeaned. A lot of derogatory things were said about me to my child, and I never ever defended myself. I didn't publicly defend myself. I didn't silently defend myself, because at that time, I was trying to get through this divorce. I had a lot of, 16 years is a long time. And I started thinking about what I gave up, what I lost. Not talking about the materialistic things. I'm talking about me. I can't go back and do this, and I can't go back and do that. So I went through that. And so the process was hard. It was challenging, because it wasn't let's talk about it, let's sit down, let's talk about it, let's agree to this, and we move on. It was no, I'll fight, I'm going to fight you, and I'm going to destroy you. And that's just kind of sum it up, kind of how it was for me. And then me being in that, not having any finances, my finances were struggling. And him not wanting to, help me, or me, share, and having to move back with my mom. It was difficult, having to move back with my mom, my grown self, literally being stripped of. I didn't have much, but being stripped of the little that I had, and I felt like I was literally at the bottom of the pit. Trying to climb my way out, but how? With blinders on, trying to get back to that point where, and then asking myself, how did I get here? Like, how I got here? I ain't supposed to be here. And having people watch that and not really know what's going on, and still trying to continue my practice. It's hard, you dealing with your own stuff. And you got to go help people get through their stuff. You know what I'm saying? That separation. And I remember crying out to God one day. I had to get up. I had a tough night because there was many sleepless nights. There were nights, I would cry all night, literally. And I had a rough night one night. I was just crying, and I had to get up, and I had a really client who really was going through some stuff. And I remember praying, crying out to God, saying, God, you know what your people need. You know what your people need. You know what I'm going through. And I know that you're using me to speak to them, but I don't have it in me. I just don't. And I really want to counsel. I really did. I was going to call him and say, let's just reschedule rather. And I remember God saying, no, go. You just go. Go. Separate. And I got there, and got to my office, and got here in my office, and I was literally looking at the client saying, you just don't know. You just don't know. I'm just here like on a prayer for real, but I'm going to push through this. And I did. And I remember that day saying, I wish I had somebody. That's why I went into this. That's exactly why I'm here, because I wish I had somebody to talk me through that process of what they're going through, And so that was a very challenging time for me. I moved back, and I'll say, of course I moved back with my mom, and it was uncomfortable for me. I was embarrassed about it. And I was ashamed. And I remember not wanting to tell people, because they would say, where are you living? And I would always say, oh, off Lakeshore. Because I didn't want to tell people that I had moved. I was back in the house with my mom, back in the home house that I grew up in, So that's what that was the hard part for me. Just that divorce, that emotional roller coaster ride. Some days I'm up, some days I'm down. And then the whole idea of my child not being himself with me, because he know what to believe. And I'm not going to sit there, and I chose not to bring him into it. I just was intentional about being the mama to him, and not being the mama who bashing your daddy, the mama who said, I just left him out of it. I didn't defend myself. I was like, but there was a very, very, very challenging time for me, both spiritually. I'm pushing through, trying to say, okay, God, I've been faithful. I was tithing, and I'm listening to your word. I'm going in, and this is what I gotta go through. Like, why I gotta go through this? I don't want to do this. And then emotionally, one day I'm happy, I'm okay. Next day I'm a mess. Crying spells were like overwhelming. A lot of guilt because I felt like, and I'm not saying that I was, of course, I'm saying I'm not the better spouse or the perfect spouse, but a lot of guilt, because, I'm asking myself, could I have done something different? Should I have paid attention to that? Why did I try to fix it? Why can I just got pregnant? I got pregnant, but just raised my child as a different single mom. Who, maybe things would have been different, what I'm saying? I'm old now. Who gonna want me? Those type things, going in your back and forth in your head, where I'm gonna get a job. I need income coming in. I need to hurry up because, I don't want to be in my mom's house long. Then at the same time, my vehicle was messing up. I had it for 12 years, and then it started giving me problems. My son getting ready to go off to college. How I'm gonna help him? All those type things were just over and over in my mind. And I was trying to fix them. I was trying to, I was overwhelmed with stress, just trying to create this better life for myself with the bare minimum. I felt like, with the bare minimum of what I had. Didn't realize it. And then at the same time, I'm taking all this in, and I'm not really open, because, when you're going through things, you find out who your friends are. You find out which family members support you. You find out that the reason why they were supporting you in the first place, which was challenging for me, because sometimes it's hard to face the truth when you realize people don't really, want to be supportive of what they feel like you a failure, you know. So all of those things were a part of my analyzing, my thinking, my thoughts, you know. And I'm trying to press through. I'm trying to smile on the outside, but in the inside, I'm like, you know. And sometimes I would want to get in my car, and I was like, I'm just gonna drive till I run out of gas. You know, where I'm gonna go, north, south, east, west, and I was just like, I'm just gonna go. Those were days that I wanted to do that, but I was like, okay, so if I get there, what I'm gonna do? So all of that was, the whole process was very challenging. And then after I, you know, got counseled, you know, an attorney and everything, that was high. Attorneys are expensive. You know, they charge you for, you call them and ask one question, and they charging you $190 for, if they speak with you for 20 minutes, they're gonna charge you for an hour. You know, so every time you call them, they're charging you. And so I got to the point where I was like, I don't want to fight anymore. You know, I just don't want to fight. You know, I want the house. You can have the house. Because he was adamant. You didn't get my house. You know, we purchased the house together. And actually, I was the one who selected the house. I picked the house out. But anyway, I want my house. You're not going to get this. You're not going to get that. You're not going to, you know, get custody of our child. I'm going to fight you for custody. And I just didn't have it in me to fight anymore. You know, and so once I said, you can have it, literally, I was like, I don't want it. My peace is more important to me. Let me get this healing, because I still got this wound, and I need to heal it. I don't want to, you know, I don't want to repeat this. I I want peace. I literally was, I was so, one thing for sure I was about was I wanted peace. I was like, I want peace. So you can have it. If you want to fight, you fight. And then it was questionable, wow, you guilty because you didn't fight. And not just from him, but from other family members as well. If you ain't fight, then what he said must have been true. No. So I didn't defend myself again. I said, you think what you think. And I got to the point where I started saying, if you know me, then you know me. And if you choose to believe that, then you wanted to believe it anyway. So that's what I started accepting. Like, I ain't got to prove myself to nobody anymore. You know, if they know me, they know me. If they want to choose to believe it, believe it. So I started just working on me. I really did. I just started working on me. And when I say working, I went in. Going in is like dealing with those things those undersurface things that I put, you know, in the wound that I never really dealt with. I was like, let's pull it back. Let's work on it. Let's be true. Let's just be honest about it. And so I started realizing why I got with him in the first place. Trying to fix it. Dumbing down me. You know, not dating or not being with someone who I was connected with on a certain level. You know, being with someone, like I said earlier, if this don't work, I'm good. But see how you choose to do that because you're not healed. We make decisions on immature decisions based on our own insecurities, which creates more heartache, more hurt, more disappointment. And we don't grow we don't grow in that situation, you know. So look how long it took me from here to, you know, the wound initially, and then back and forth with that wound, and just tabbing it, you know, baiting it, instead of just completely going in and say, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to heal this wound for real, because it hurt. And I didn't want to deal with it. So I just pat it up a little bit, put a bandage on it. You get well for a little while, and I bump it again. You know, at some point in my life, I got tired of bumping it. I just got tired of bumping it. So yeah, that's basically what the process for divorce for me. It was horrible. And I had to be reminded. And I remember someone saying this to me: God hates divorce, but he loves you. And I just kept saying that God loves me, God loves me. And I can say this because this is what happened to me, and everybody, you know, different. Don't take this as I'm saying, okay, I'm promoting divorce. I'm not. But I remember praying about just my relationship. And I'm a strong believer and I know God, I hear from God. And I had just been praying, and I was fasting about it, and I had a dream one night. And in that dream, I saw a pink snake. It was like a pink reddish snake. And so the next day I got up, and we were getting ready to go to church, And the pink reddish Nautica was pulled out the closet. And I was like, oh. And see, the key to me was not that I needed to divorce him, but the key was to me was how because I'm I have a relationship with God and I hear from him, but that was the enemy. And that spirit that was in him didn't like me. He didn't recognize it because he didn't know, but I recognized it. So the more and more I started to, spend more time with me and learn me, I started realizing a lot of times, this is for me, that the enemy was attacking me through people. So I started thinking, okay, I started realizing that I'm starting to understand all of the things that I went through in life, all the things that I'm going through in life as well, are for me to overcome them, so I can be what I am in this earth. And that's my purpose, is to help people overcome those things that because if I didn't go through them, I can't tell you how to get through them. I can tell you what I did. I can tell you that it's okay. Yeah, you're gonna cry, you're gonna hurt, you gonna feel that pain, but you gotta feel it. And at the end of that season, you'll be able to say what I'm saying now. I got through it. I made it. Oh yeah, it was hard, but I'm stronger now. I'm wiser now. And you can help the next person. And you can be honest about it. And that's why I wanted to tell my story, because I overcame it. I've been through it. And I'm still, getting through it, because even now there's a new challenge for me. That wound is healed, yes, when it comes to me learning who I am, when it comes to me stepping outside my comfortable box. I've decided, though, I'm just going to be uncomfortable. I'm just going to be comfortable being uncomfortable. I've made that decision. And I really have. I've been doing things that I would never publicly do, like this. Because I've learned that I'm happy with me. And I'm at peace about me. And so sometimes we go through life worried about what other people think, what other people are going to say. And it causes us to not really be open and be honest about our own stuff and our own who we are. None of us are perfect. We all go through stuff. That image that I created for my life, caused me some deep punctured wounds. And we just can't afford to do that. I can't afford to do it anymore. So as I go through my journey and I'm helping people, I am able to share with them that this is my story too. Don't be ashamed about it. Don't feel guilt. Don't be overwhelmed and feel like you're the only one going through it and it hadn't happened to anybody else and nobody's gotten over it and nobody understands you. Because we all, at some point, are placed here to help other people get through their stuff. And we got to tell it. And if you're holding in, if you're struggling right now with divorce or, self-identity and all those things, it's okay. Long as you're being honest about it and you're getting help.
Where are you now, like compared to then, and like how have you grown? Like what's different now than previous?
The first thing though that's different is I'm okay with me. I'm okay with me as who I am. I'm not trying to people please anymore. I don't have that image of what my life should be or what I care how it appear to other people. It's like I'm free. I'm free to be whoever I am. And I'm comfortable with that. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to measure my life based on people around me, based on, what other people have told me, unless they, of course, speaking to, prophesying to my life is different. But I'm just saying what people have, what they created, their image of who I should be. So I'm free. Some days I get up, I might not want to do nothing. I may feel this way. Some days I get up, I may feel this way, but I'm intentional about staying focused on and staying focused on who I am, and what that looks like is trusting God and trusting myself. It's not going to always be perfect, I know that, but I've learned to control what I can control, and anything else, I don't let it bother me. And literally, and I'm intentional about it. See, before it's like we talk about it, and then we have to be like, try to be perfect in doing it. I realize I'm not perfect. So I can be honest about my not being perfect and be okay with it. And it's a freedom that, and I know that's what I was going to say. It sounds like a cliche, but it's not. It really is a freedom. I really feel free, and I feel more comfortable with myself than I have ever felt. And I celebrate me, like the good. I'm not going to say the good, because, sometimes people, the bad, the good, the bad, the ugly, and all of that. I don't think of it like that. I think of it as, it's me. It's just me. My mood swings. It's me. And I can be honest about it. I could literally tell somebody right now that calls me and say, what's wrong with you? And I'll say nothing. I'm just having one of them days. What's up? And I'm okay with that. I'm not trying to respond based on how they're going to react. They just need to go. We just need to be honest about who we really are and be okay with that and accept that. Once I learn to accept myself, everybody else going to accept me, because I love me, and that's why I am today. And I keep saying it, but I'm free. I really, really, really am. I feel like that eagle just literally flying, and when he or she wants to come down, they come down.
That's good.
So
that's good.
That's how my life is. That's how it has, this last 4 years. It's been 4 years. 4 years since, and I think that a lot of times we put pressure on ourselves because I don't know where that pressure comes from. I don't know if it comes from us, measuring ourselves or comparing ourselves with other people, or we create this, because it's just like when we're younger and people ask you, what do you want to be when you grow up? When people tell me, when I ask that question now, and people say, I don't know. What do you want to do? Then they say, I don't know. It's okay. Because even at my age now, there's some things I'm thinking, oh, I'll be good at that. Oh, I should try that. Because we're always growing. And if you're not always growing, something is wrong. If you look back at your life and you're still doing the same thing you did a year ago, definitely 2, 3, 4 years ago, something is wrong. You're not living your best life. And I'm not talking about partying and getting lit and cutting up. I'm talking about growth, eternal growth, like learning how to be a better you, learning how to be a better father, learning how to be a better mother, learning how to be a better friend, a better co-worker. I'm talking growing, and learning to just love life and stop hating on people. Just because you decided not to do it and that person decided to take a step, I just say misery loves company, and I ain't got time to be company of a miserable, and I definitely ain't gonna be miserable. So I decided that, and so we have to learn to just be better, grow, and what that looks like, I think it's the hard part for people, because it's like we get up and go to work every day. Some of us, right? Most of us, we go to work. It's plenty of days we don't feel like going, but we still have to go. And if you make that decision, I did. That's exactly what I did. I made the decision to say, hey, I want to be a better person. Even when it don't feel like it. Even when I don't feel like it. I got to do what it takes to be a better person. So if it's 15 minutes every day where I'm reading scripture or I'm reading something that's going to enhance my life, I got to do it. Because I know when I don't do it, how, the outcome is. So do the work. Just work on you. Just work on you, and things will get better. So the peace that I have now, like I've said before, I will fight you. Literally fights to keep the peace, because it's nothing like it. Like, it's nothing like it. So I just encourage you, stay the course. I did. You know, it wasn't hard. It wasn't easy. It was very hard. Even now, sometimes I look back at my life. I look back at it and I be like, wow, I went through that. And I say, oh, thank God. It was definitely the grace. Definitely the grace. And I thank him every day for it, because, you know, there were some times, there were some days that they were dark, even before. And when I say before, I'm saying before the divorce. You know, before that, there were some days that, you know, it gets tough. But I'm quite sure we all have those days. I know we do. But it's up to you, like it was up to me, to decide to do better and to be better. And you just have to make that decision. And once you make that decision, don't look back. Don't look back. Think about the past. This is what I do about my past. I look back at my past and I say, wow. The past is a part of my story in my life. And I wouldn't be here if I didn't go through all of that. But I understand why I had to go through it. And I understand now that if I hadn't been able to overcome it, then the past would have been in vain. So does that make sense? You have to understand why. It's like school. We start at kindergarten. Everything that we learn in kindergarten, if you don't learn your ABCs and your 1, 2, 3s, when you get to first grade, you jacked up. Right? And you learn your ABCs, 1, 2, 3s, and then in kindergarten, we learn first grade, we may learn colors. I'm just saying. So you're going to need everything in first and second grade. Kindergarten and first grade in your second grade in that level. Kindergarten, first grade, and second grade, you're going to need everything that you've learned in there for third grade. If you don't learn it, then you're going to repeat. You might not necessarily go back.
That's good.
You might not go back, but you're going to stay stuck in there. You're going to stay stuck because you ain't learned. And you got to learn to move up and go to the next level. And until you decide to do that, so that's my story. I guess that's it. You make the choice to get up and show up. Giving up isn't in your DNA, and failing shouldn't be an option. So remember, God can, and He will, but you must.